Hello, welcome to my channel. The book I'm going to share with you today is Amusing Ourselves to Death, Public Discourse in the Age of Show Business, a book that most of you should have heard of or read. The author is Neil Bozeman, a leading American researcher and critic of media culture, and the book has been cited nearly 6,000 times in Google Scholar, more than most academic works. This shows how influential this book has been around the world. But in the discussions among the general public who have read the book, most of the cases are used to criticize some media phenomena. For example, when we see that many people are addicted to blindly following stars, the network is full of all kinds of superficial entertainment programs, and see the serious and positive media unattended, many people will laugh and say, "This is really an era of entertainment to death." But to interpret the book, Entertainment to Death, as a simple criticism of the entertainment phenomenon in the mass media is actually not quite correct, and is not the core view expressed in the book. In fact, most people have a lot of misunderstandings about the core ideas expressed in the book. First, the core of the criticism of Entertainment to Death is not the content of entertainment, but the media form of television. Here it is important to distinguish between content and medium. The medium is the carrier of the content, but this carrier has an impact on the content, and this is the key to understanding the book. Secondly, the book is not about the entertainment industry, but about the criticism of the media's presentation of news, education, politics, and other serious public sectors. In other words, there is no problem whether the entertainment industry is developed or not, but the line between entertainment and non-entertainment should not be blurred. Third, what this book ultimately seeks to express is not a critique or a sentiment, but an active search for a rational approach, especially in enhancing our understanding of various media forms. Understanding these three common misunderstandings, and then understanding the book from the right perspective, we can understand the classic Entertainment to Death in a deeper and more sincere way. Well, let's start with the first point. The book is not concerned with entertaining content, but the medium of content dissemination in the form of entertainment. To understand this point, we must first talk about the relationship between content and media. Simply put, the medium is the carrier of the content, the medium is the bottle, and the content is the water in the bottle. For example, a magazine is a medium, and the articles and pictures in the magazine are the content. TV is a medium, and the various programs on TV are a kind of content. Our circle of friends is a medium, and the specific information we share is the content. Most people may think, since the medium is the carrier, it is relatively speaking, it is actually not too important in itself. What is important is the content. Because, isn't it almost the same to take any bottle to hold water? However, the author used nearly half of the book to repeatedly emphasize, the medium is important, it will have an impact on the content. That is to say, taking different bottles to fill the water will really make a difference to the water. Let's look at the first important medium in human history, the written word. On the surface, doesn't it seem that speaking and writing words are both expressions? But when words become the vehicle, what we express changes. Plato is quoted in this book as saying that without the written word, philosophy would not exist. Why is this? Because it is only after the written word is used to record philosophical ideas that subsequent discussion, criticism, and research can take place. Therefore, the written form solidified language, and from it came grammarians, logicians, rhetoricians, historians, scientists, and so on, all of whom needed to see the written word recorded in writing in order to understand its meaning, find its errors, and understand its revelations. This is the profound change that the medium of writing has brought to human society. Another important medium is that of books and newspapers, which appeared after the invention of printing. The book says that the medium of printing made the content clear and understandable, serious and rational. This is because, once language became visible on paper, it took on a sense of solemn form. For authors, they always want to express something or a point of view after writing a sentence, and hope that readers can understand the meaning. For readers, they must have a certain level of text comprehension when reading words, and if they cannot understand words, they will only see some cold words and symbols. Therefore, the author argues, reading the written word is by nature a serious and rational matter, and in the 18th and 19th centuries, the printed medium enabled public discourse in both American and British societies to take on a serious and rational character. The author cites as evidence a passage from Tocqueville's Democracy in America. Tocqueville writes, "The American does not talk, but he discusses, and what is said often becomes a thesis. He speaks to you as if he were speaking at a conference, and if the discussion gets heated, he will call the people he is talking to gentlemen." The author argues that the reason Americans back then had this seemingly strange way of conversing was actually because they were so heavily influenced by the printed word. Next, let's talk about the characteristics of the medium of television. Once again, the invention and popularization of the medium of television had a huge impact on the content and atmosphere of public discourse. This book argues that under the domination of television, public discourse has become useless and absurd. The medium of television is composed of images and sounds, and it is well suited to visually present some sensory stimuli. Therefore, good-looking, friendly, interesting, lively images and beautiful music are popular on television, while serious and rational content is not suitable for this medium. And, TV broadcasting is continuous, cannot pause, there is no way for you to have time to just see the content to make the corresponding thinking, which is completely different from reading text. Reading can always stop to see the content to think and understand. Watch TV is to take away this thinking time. Although the current smart TV is able to pause and playback, but you observe our surroundings, how many people will stop to think when watching TV? So the author argues that, the way TV thinks is at odds with the way print thinks. TV conversations promote incoherence and boredom and triviality. He even argues that the very phrase, serious television, is self-contradictory because, as long as it is a television program it cannot be serious, and as long as it is serious content it is not suitable for television. At this point, you should understand, the author is fiercely attacking the medium of television, and his target is not the content itself. In fact, his thinking comes from a very famous communication scholar, McLuhan. McLuhan famously said, "The medium is the message," which means that the medium itself can express meaning, shape content and influence society. Here comes the second point, Entertainment to Death, is not a book criticizing the entertainment industry, not criticizing the various flow of stars in the entertainment industry, but criticizing the serious entertainment interpretation and dissemination of serious public industries such as news, education and politics by various media. As we said above, the media form of television has profoundly affected the content it carries, and all content, without exception, has become entertaining when it comes to television. If the content itself is entertainment, it does not matter. But if the content is not entertainment, but because of the influence of TV culture, the serious and rational content has been disseminated and interpreted in an entertaining way, then it is very bad. Bozeman wrote this book in the 1980s, at a time when television was a fast-growing form of media that influenced every aspect of society. Take the news industry, although it also belongs to the media industry, but news programs and entertainment programs should be very different. News programs require truthfulness, objectivity and rigor. However, after the advent of the television era, there is something wrong with television news, because what attracts people is no longer the news itself, but whether the announcer is pretty, whether the news picture is great, and whether the guest's point of view is exciting enough. This has lost the meaning of news itself, and it is only for entertainment. This is the change from reading the news to watching the news. In 1985, Charles Pine, a professor at Rutgers University in the United States, was awarded the title of Distinguished Professor of the Year by Congress for his great contribution to education. In what way did this professor make such an impact on his students? He said himself, "Sometimes if my slate has reached the edge of the board, I'll write on the wall and the students will see it and laugh. I run to one wall, then I bounce off the wall and run to the other wall. This way of showing students how glass molecules move is, the author argues, a teaching style that emphasizes the graphic, dramatic, and hilarious, clearly influenced by the entertaining tendencies shaped by television. Another example mentioned in the book is that in 1984, the public schools in Pennsylvania, USA, tried out a way of teaching in which the subjects to be learned were sung to the students. In other words, all the course contents were composed and arranged into popular music, hoping that the students could learn happily in this way. The inventor of this idea is a TV studio that produces children's TV programs. This studio believes that education and entertainment are inseparable. Likewise, in the political world, it has been influenced by the entertainment of television. The most popular tend to be the politicians who are most adept at showing their charisma on television. For example, when the author was writing this book, the President of the United States was Reagan, a former Hollywood actor who told great jokes and acted funny in the televised debates of the presidential campaign, all of which were considered to be a plus for Reagan to become president. The previous Nixon and Kennedy presidential campaign coincided with the first time a televised debate was introduced into the campaign, resulting in a better image of Kennedy successfully sitting in the presidency, while Nixon blamed his defeat on the makeup artist. Nixon also gave a pertinent piece of presidential campaign advice: lose weight. From this, the author laments that the area in which politicians could show their talent and mastery has changed from intelligence to makeup. These supposedly serious professions have become entertaining. In response, the book Entertainment to Death argues, all this proves is that our culture has begun to adopt a new way of conducting business, especially important business. As the dividing line between entertainment and non-entertainment becomes harder to draw, the nature of cultural discourse has changed. Our priests and presidents, our doctors and lawyers, our educators and newscasters, all are less concerned with taking on responsibilities in their respective fields and turn more attention to making themselves more photogenic. He added that in the television era, there was no other industry but entertainment. Next, let's look at the third one, which is, what should we do in the face of this society-wide entertainment phenomenon? This book does not stop at criticizing and lamenting the decline of the world, but is actively looking for solutions, especially in emphasizing that we should raise our awareness of various media forms. Only in this way can we combat the negative effects of entertainment. The author mentions two important writers, Orwell and Huxley. Orwell's masterpiece is 1984, a book about a powerful and oppressive society, full of surveillance and censorship everywhere. Huxley's masterpiece is A Beautiful New World, which shows a world full of sensual stimulation and desire, where people are not oppressed by the power, but are drowned in boring pleasures and have surrendered their freedom. Bozeman was more in agreement with Huxley's prediction. He believed that this age of entertainment brought about by television had become, to some extent, a beautiful new world. As Huxley predicted, we will be ruined by the things we love, that is, those entertaining contents. What should we do if we don't want the world to become Huxley's beautiful new world? One way might be to choose to boycott television as a form of media that leads to entertainment. However, while it is possible for individuals to choose not to watch television, it is almost impossible to call for a universal boycott of television, because the medium is so deeply rooted that people have become accustomed to watching it to pass the time. There is an example in this book. In 1983, a library in Connecticut launched a "Turn Off the TV" campaign, advocating that people not watch TV for a month. One participant in the campaign said in an interview that she participated in the campaign because there was a lot of great television coverage of the campaign last year. In other words, the campaign ultimately relied on television for its dissemination, which makes it ironic and illustrates how deeply rooted the medium is and how difficult it is to boycott television on a large scale. Therefore, according to the author, the key to the problem lies in finding ways to watch television properly, rather than just boycotting it, which is something that seems almost impossible to accomplish. In other words, since it is impossible not to watch TV, increase your understanding of TV as a medium, and increase your understanding of how the medium influences content. He asks a series of questions. What is information? What are the different forms it takes? What are the different forms that bring us knowledge, wisdom, and ways of learning? What are the spiritual effects of each form? What is the relationship between information and reason? What kind of information is most conducive to thinking? Do different forms of information have different moral tendencies? What does information overload mean? How do we know there is an information glut? How do the new sources, speed of dissemination, context, and form of information require a redefinition of? How different forms of information determine what it is to say? According to Bozeman, only with adequate reflection and public discussion of these questions can we go some way toward eliminating the negative effects of the television medium. With popular, emerging media, we should not be thinking about how we can use it to control education, but how we can use education to control it, that is, to increase everyone's awareness of the medium through education. This is difficult, but it may be the only way that works for us. It is also the solution proposed by Huxley himself, who has continued to write books to help people improve their understanding of the medium. Well, the above is the essence of the book, Entertainment to Death. Let's review together to summarize the 3 common misunderstandings that we propose to the general public when reading the book. First, the book is aimed not at entertainment content, but at using entertainment content as an entry point to lead to the form of media that leads to entertainment, which is television. Secondly, the book is not a critique of the entertainment industry, but rather a criticism of public sectors such as journalism, education, and politics, which should be serious and have become entertaining. Finally, the book does not stop at criticism and sentiment, but points out concrete solutions, which are to enhance education and public discussion about the media. Objectively speaking, the book's views are sharp, even somewhat extreme, and it has sparked some controversy in academic circles. For example, Bozeman is completely critical of the entertainment of education, politics, and other industries, but there are other scholars who believe that there is nothing wrong with appropriate entertainment and that it can be equally positive and educational, allowing more students to learn more enriching knowledge. We also have an old saying that teaching is fun. By presenting political content in an entertaining way, people who do not care about politics can also increase their understanding of politics, which is also a positive effect. In addition, Bozeman's argument is also tinged with technological determinism, as if the form of the media has become a decisive factor, which may exaggerate the influence of the media on content and society. His discussion of the print media is also too absolute, and not all print media are as serious and rational as the author says, and there are 2 sides to everything, so one cannot be too absolute in discussing a point of view. We cannot directly apply the contents of the book to the current mobile internet era. For example, watching TV is a passive acceptance of information, but on the internet, we can like, comment, share, send pop-ups, and tweet while receiving. Therefore, although the internet also contributes to the phenomenon of entertainment, when we go to think about this issue, we should see the deeper meaning behind the surface of affairs, rather than just looking at the surface. Well, this book Bozeman's Entertainment to Death will be shared with you here. I hope that in the pan-entertainment we can maintain the seriousness and rationality that we should have when dealing with some issues. We will see you next time.